Mephibosheth. Say that over in your mind several times. It's a zany sounding name to our American ears. But you can do worse than to get acquainted with him if you are at all interested in Jesus living. Because he stands for a zany, reckless kind of generosity. It's a kind of zaniness that clowns are known for. Sometimes it smiles a crooked comic smile. At other times it dances a jig and throws its hat in the air. The hat comes down upside down on the clown's head, and his dance ends in a pratfall. That kind of zaniness. This is the way God is. This is the way Jesus is. Because clowns are a rich paradigm for the way God does things. Take Mephibosheth, for example. He starts out with 3 strikes against him, gets a pass to first base, and hits a home run, all in one at bat. Now, I know if there are baseball coaches in the congregation, you can't do that. But this is in a sermon, and I control what's in the sermon. Strike 1. Mephibosheth, the grandson of King Saul, who was as loony as he could be. Not the funny kind of loony, but the kind of loony that is a deep, deep paranoia. And he's more paranoid about David than anyone else. And the grandfather in a battle is struck by an arrow, and he begins to beg the other soldiers to kill him, even though the arrow is not fatal. No one does so. And so he does the job himself. He falls on his own sword. Strike 2. His father, Jonathan, is killed in the same battle. That's not a very good start, but it gets worse. Here comes strike 3. His nanny, knowing that he could be a pretender to the throne, could be killed, and in a panic she grabs him up to take him to a safe place, but she drops him and renders him a cripple in both his feet. Not much future there, you would say. But the next time you hear or read or quote the 23rd Psalm, just know that Mephibosheth could have written some of those lines. Because it goes like this. David, through treachery, keen sense of what is political, and his good looks, becomes the king of Israel, and he asks one of the servants, Ziba, is there anyone in Saul's family for whom I can show God's kindness for Jonathan's sake. Jonathan having been David's steadfast and loyal friend. And Ziba says, yes, there is one. His name is Mephibosheth. And David directs that he be brought to him. Well, probably, you know how people are about bad news. Probably somebody told him sometime that he could be in danger because he could become a pretender to the throne. But David tells him, do not fear. You will sit at the king's table and eat the king's feast. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. And when you read David's story, I wonder what strikes you the most. The savagery, the blood, vengeance, the duplicity, or do you notice the kindness that drips through the entire period like rain through a clown's leaky umbrella? But David is a man after God's own heart, and one of the places you have to look for that is in this zany, reckless kind of kindness and generosity. In fact, this whole thing reminds me of a line from Waylon Jennings' song that says, I'm crazy, but it's kept me from going insane. Saul, paranoid about David, hunts him down mercilessly. And just when David looks to be cornered, he sneaks into Saul's camp at night, stealing his spear and his water jug. When he gets back away from the camp, he shouts through the night at Saul, saying, this demonstrates I have nothing against the king. I would not harm the Lord's anointed. That's David at his political best. He could obviously have done away with Saul, but instead he lets him go free as a bird. I'm crazy, but it's kept me from going insane. A zany, reckless gesture of generosity. Or take the time that David, brokenhearted, because the scripture says he was weeping as he went, having to leave Jerusalem, which by this time had already become known, ironically, as the city of David, and he had to evacuate the place. There's a scene there that is almost more than a man could take. Because as he weeps as he goes, a man by the name of Shimei throws dirt on him and spits at him. His soldiers want to kill Shimei, but David says no. And then, after the insurrection of Absalom has been put down, Shimei is made to appear before David. And again, his soldiers want to dispatch him. And David says, should any man be killed this day in Israel? I'm crazy, but it's kept me from going insane. Where does that gesture come from? It comes out of the gratitude that he has turned back the insurrection of his son. That's where this kind of generosity always comes from, thanksgiving. This is the way God is. This is the way Jesus is. If you corner Jesus, put him on trial, hand him over to Pilate, and then hang him on a cross so that he can't even scratch his nose, what does he do? He says, I forgive you, but you don't really know what you're doing. I'm crazy, but it's kept me from going insane. I haven't forgotten Mephibosheth, although I've forgotten the pronunciation. This is where he hits a home run. Because Mephibosheth is wronged during the battle that David was waging against Absalom's forces. And the way in which he is wronged is that Ziba sends word to David falsely that Mephibosheth has been unfaithful to him. But when David returns to Jerusalem, well, before he returns to Jerusalem, thinking that Mephibosheth has betrayed him, he gives all of Saul's property to Ziba. Then when David gets home and he is told the truth that Mephibosheth played square and loyal throughout the whole campaign, David, heartbroken over the death of his son, tired, sort of says in an offhand way, let Mephibosheth and Ziba split the property. Here comes the home run. What does Mephibosheth say? He says, let Ziba have the whole blamed thing. I'm crazy, but it's kept me from going insane. That's the way God is. That's the way Jesus is. Reckless generosity. And if we hang around God and Jesus long enough, maybe we'll all become clowns. Clowns for God's sake. Amen.